Good afternoon, welcome to the Business Forecast, and welcome to my co-presenter today, Nigel Elkes. Hi, Nigel.
Hi, Nikki. Hi, everyone.
So today, this is our first joint one of the year. Last week I was with the lovely Pete. So today we're focusing on the M&A market. For if any of you are newbies to the Business Forecast, and you're watching 12:30 on the Friday, and so you're watching live, please do feel free to ask questions as we go along. We love a bit of live participation as we go. If you're watching on catch up, not a problem. If you've got a question, just contact myself or Nigel afterwards, and we'd be delighted to have a chat with you. Just pop your questions into the chat box. Even just say hello, so I know that that's working. That's always helpful to know. So because I always worry if it is working or not. Okay, so great. So there's a lot of activity happening in M&A, so we thought it was a good at beginning of the year, nice fresh start to the year. But it would be a good idea to just have a quick review of 2022. We're then going to go through what our predictions are for 2023, and then Nigel's particularly going to go through about how to maximise your sale. Also financing, etc. So there's lots of great content. So please do, if you've got time, grab your cup of tea, your sandwich, and hopefully stay to the end so that you get all of our hopefully enjoyable but useful content. So just briefly looking at 2022. Not all the figures are out yet. As always, there's always a bit of a delay. But what it's looking like from the indications from the large business advisors for the deals, PwC we've taken some numbers from as well. It looks like around 50,000 deals were done in the UK in 2022. There's mergers and acquisitions, so it's where either the company is being fully sold or another company has got taken over majority control of another company. So that's a lot of activity there. It was a good year, 2022. It was back to pre-pandemic levels. But the good thing, not only the level of activity, the size of the activity was good as well. The numbers were better than 21. The deal values were increasing. Just so that you know, sort of the biggest, this is what we're seeing everywhere. Oh, just lost Nigel for a bit. Hopefully he'll be back in a second. Is the biggest sector was the tech sector. 30% of deals were to do with tech. Not a surprise. I was talking only yesterday to a business owner who's getting funding, and he was mentioning about the fact. You're back then, Nigel?
I do. Apologies for that. I don't know what happened. It just threw me out.
That's right. And it wasn't me.
I went for my cup of tea.
We haven't fallen out. We are still friends. So the tech sector, as I said, was saying, I was talking yesterday, everybody always still gets excited about tech, even though, there are, and it's the anticipation of the potential rewards, because potential rewards in tech can be so huge, but there is still, a lot of tech companies that don't, work out. So, but that is the sector people get excited about still. So 30% of deals were there. So anything else you want to add? What was your experience of 2022 from at the coalface?
Yeah, I think I think it was still very strong, really, on a personal basis and with the people and the circles we work within. I think the same rules apply always, which are the consolidation, the alignment of synergies, and the need for companies to scale. So I think those rules are always imperative there, and will be the driving force within M&A, and people want to expand for different reasons and need to make acquisitions. And I think it will be slightly more of the challenges or the sort of hurdles that some businesses face with the sort of conditions, but we can sort of come on to those when I think we sort of talk about 2023.
Indeed, yeah, nicely queued up for 23. So in 23, you know, anyone that knows me knows I'm a planner. I like looking forward to the future. So what are we expecting to see in 23? I'm expecting to see the same amount, probably about similar amounts of deal activity, potentially even a little bit more. So as in the size, no, as in the number of deals. The overall size, I could see potentially go slightly lower. This is because some sectors, not all sectors, I think some sectors are still very exciting, still very buoyant. Certain parts of the tech sector still getting really good multiples. Some of the bit more mundane ones might be slightly more suppressed. So some sectors maybe getting their multiples a little bit more depressed, so or deflated. So that may, you know, things like construction, retail, hospitality, you know, they're the ones that always get affected by recession. So more likely to not potentially get such great deals, but there is still a strong amount of activity. We foresee that there will be a lot of SME business owners that will be doing some serious retirement planning, especially as, you know, next year there will be a change of government. So what will happen to capital gains tax, you know, there's a whole spectrum of scenarios. So there will be quite a few business owners that, you know, they're relying upon the pot from selling their business as being their retirement fund. So there will be a lot that will be thinking, well, actually, shall I utilise my business asset development relief, the £1 million band, you know, or if it's husband and wife, 2 million, or husband, whichever, you can get, you know, you can still get substantial at 10%. So that's really, really key for a lot of people making decisions, and it is you need to put that time in to think about that, because that could be a huge difference if you're paying 10% or 20% versus potentially 40 or 45% sales. But who knows? We don't know what's going to change, but you've got to be prepared. We are also expecting a lot of the pandemic schemes have come to the end. A lot of the safety nets are finished. HMRC are being much more aggressive in their collections. So we are expecting to see an increase in stressed purchases. So, you know, the key with those, Nigel will tell you a lot more about that, but the key with those is don't leave it to too late to do it. You know, do try and get those sales done while you still have got sufficient cash flows. Don't leave it to the last minute, and then you'll get that's when people will be picking you up for nothing. Just a minor, well, not a minor thing, it's a major thing, but, you know, it's something that we can't control. Depending on the world political landscape and, you know, wars, etc., you know, certainly if the Ukraine war stopped, then that would create a lot more positivity in the marketplace. Similarly with Taiwan and China, the threat, the worry about there, and different other places, you know, those all can, you know, it's you know, unless you're in the defence industry, it's not good for any of the other sectors. The particular things that are really pushing down some of the deal values, energy prices inflation and interest rates, things that we've all been going on about for a while now, especially when we're talking about budgeting and planning. That's also affecting M&A. That was a quick rattle through of what I'm sort of looking at and seeing. Nigel, what would you like to either concur on or add in on that section?
I think it's really to sort of slightly overlap, but then to just go back to sort of individuals' situations, and if you've got Mr. and Mrs. Business Owner out there, it's their situation is going to be generally unique to themselves. I think as a country, and obviously the world, as you sort of pointed out, Nikki, you know, there was Brexit, there was COVID, the Ukraine war, the interest rates, inflation. Some of these are sort of off-putting to on a sort of individual basis to business owners. And as you rightly said, I think it's good to just probably talk through with their accountant or advisor or mentor, and just sort of ascertain what the broad plan is, because and again, we can come on to it, the sort of, you know, the components of a deal, but it's really just to sort of consider your own personal situation. And when we sort of look at the deal flow for last year, we probably had a spike in inquiries in the last quarter, on a sort of within our environment, and people wanting to discuss it. And so I think people have sort of done the journey of some of these stress points and been through COVID, and quite honestly, as each year goes back, we're all getting a year older, and sometimes those factors start to come in. So I think it's good to plan, it's good to prepare. The more you prepare, the better value you'll get for your business, and also you'll get more options. And it's just seeing what that sort of landscape gives, and there's always buyers out there, as we alluded to earlier, for consolidation, synergies, diversification, and so it's worthwhile just considering it. And any exit strategy may take a number of years, and I actually see that happening a lot more probably over the next 12 to 18 months, where the sort of deals and the amount of time that owners are in the deals will stretch out as well. People will want them to be part of the business for a longer period to guarantee and underpin the sales, and you know, the success of the business. So I think the deal structure will be slightly more spread out than we've previously seen.
Yeah, so people, so the buyers being a little bit more cautious, and therefore putting the earnouts perhaps over, you know, a long period. So yeah, you do need to. It depends on each situation, but yeah, where perhaps some deals you might have been able to get out within a year. Sometimes, you know, it might be 2-3 years. Sometimes even longer. You know, we've seen one at the moment where they're talking about a 5-year period, which is, you know, very, very long to plan out for. But like anything, like, you know, like with selling a house, there, if you are really wanting to sell, there is always a buyer at the right price. It's whether you're willing to take that right price. That's always the tricky thing. So Nigel, with all of this in mind, how do you believe SME business owners, and that's what we're really talking about, you know, the really large firms we're not talking about there, they will have dozens of their expensive advisors, you know, but for the owner managed businesses, the SME owners, how can they maximize their deal value, and also, you know, increase their likelihood of a sale in 23?
Yeah, I think as you alluded to there, Nikki, I think it's looking at the basic ingredients of the deal and ensuring they're right. So at its top level analysis, if you've got a willing buyer, a willing seller, and an agreed price, obviously they're the main components. But then putting a few levels and a bit of detail onto that, it's kind of what makes a willing seller. And I think anybody, when they've worked a number of years in their business and had the ups and downs and everything, would like to maximize what they can get back. Now, there's a number of factors that we've previously alluded to on these sessions within the preparation for a business, but the long and short of it is to do it at the time when you can maximize the price. And sellers may say, well, it might not be in this marketplace, and it might not be, but some of the things that we alluded to earlier, be it retirement, be it market conditions, be it sector, may then affect when you sell. So the more preparation, the better. The more you talk about it, the better. And there's a list of 20 things that obviously we could advise to help that. So if the seller's in the right frame of mind and knows, then they're going to be hopefully getting something in line with their expectations. Next, we move on to the buyer, and to get a willing buyer paying the right money, a lot of that is down to your broker, and you just need to ensure that you get a full marketing campaign, full exposure, probably over a period of about 3 to 6 months, depending on sectors. But in that time, you should anticipate, again, sector dependent, 25 plus inquiries, but in the right sector, you know, 30 to 40 inquiries. And when you've got that, out of those, you should be able to establish a short list of buyers willing to pay the market rate, because there'll be a couple of people in the shortlist, the market rate for the company. So bringing those factors together, and obviously all the different personalities and the ingredients that we know that makes a deal work, the right chemistry, the right synergies, etc., then I think it's that will, you know, obviously those rules always still apply, but all the way along, I think basically everybody has to be slightly more flexible. As I alluded to earlier, maybe the seller might have to work in the business a little bit longer to underpin the figures for a little bit longer. The brokers will have to work a little bit harder because there's different crosswinds from things like the energy bills that are hard to factor in. I think it's important that all the people in the sort of chain work in a timely fashion, that when you're going to heads, you know, the whole sort of framework for the deal flow is agreed, and everybody accepts it, and probably not to go into exclusivity until that's all done and basically on everybody's agenda. So I think it's those, and I think it's just being extra cautious within that. So
if I can pull out a few of those things, just so flexibility, absolutely, and I suppose it's with this is a lot of the small business owners, this may be the only time they ever sell a business. So you know, it's important for their advisors to set their expectations of what will be potentially be required in the process, and they can't be, well, it could be completely rigid in their thinking, but it reduces their likelihood of success in their acquisition if they like that. So the flexibility, absolutely, really important, and it's important to set that out from the start. Sort of similar to that, but it's But following on a bit of what you were saying about with the deal is, in some instances, the deal, to ensure a deal happens, is a bit more creativeness in the deal sometimes. So it may be different patterns of when people are being paid or how they're being paid. You know, it might be no notes, or it might be shares and be, you know, a stage sale. There's all sorts of different things, and it's important, if the seller is absolutely determined to sell this year, you know, being flexible and creative obviously would help in that. The other thing which you said about, which is so key to maximize getting those prospects, is giving enough time to the process. That's where we see where people have got, you know, they're not having, oh, I've got to get out by a certain date or whatever, but going, yes, I'm happy to do this and we'll do it over this period of time, to maximize us getting as many potential buyers to the table as possible. Definitely, that, of course, that's going to maximize their sale. We've seen even this year where people have left it too late in their timings of when they need to do something. We've still found opportunities for them, but those opportunities would have been wider and probably better if given enough time. So
Absolutely, and I think then that maximises the price paid for the business. It certainly brings more people to the table of different options and different types of buyers. So it might be somebody wanting to diversify and they want that company's expertise. It might be somebody within exactly the same trade and they just want more sales and turnover. And it might be private equity from a side, depending on what size you are. So
yeah, I mean, we said right at the top as well, didn't we? You know, nearly 50% of deals in the UK last year were private equity deals. You know, if you go, no, I'm not doing private equity, you're halving your potential sale market. It's you know, it's not for everybody, but it is a possibility.
I think that's a really good point. And one thing we've probably seen over the last year to 18 months is the private equity and the corporate companies who have got funds are then actually looking at smaller SMEs to purchase, and one recently that sort of sticks in mind, and there's another more extreme example from a couple of years ago, but there's a £8 million company that's just been bought by a £90 million subsidiary of a bigger group of companies. So the same for us as brokers, it's having a wider vision. And normally you may say, well, typically their buyer would be 4 to 5 times the size, but I think we as brokers and the buyer pool that we consider has to be 10 times, and quite honestly doesn't need a ceiling on it, depending on what they do. And some of that, obviously we just touched on the UK, but the UK is in an exceptionally strong position for the international market. And so you need to ensure, depending on your size, that your broker or your advisor is reach is international, and to sort of cover that ground, because at the moment, obviously certain conditions make it very attractive for people to buy UK based companies.
Absolutely, and there's lots of reasons why UK is attractive. It's because there's lots of finance available here. There are reputable accountants, lawyers. You know, people might moan, but actually, across globally, they are very well respected in comparison to many countries. And you know, the legal system is very robust and good for commercials, and so lots of different factors of why UK is great. I mean, only yesterday I was talking to a business owner who has had various businesses that are setting up another one with UK investors. But the activity, a lot of it is going to be in Eastern Europe. But so it's like, why would it be set up in the UK? Well, because of all those things that you mentioned, and that we've mentioned, and it's it's very attractive. And I don't want to run out of time for that next bit, but it's so key. So yesterday I was listening to there's Business Hour on LBC, and one of the 8 o'clock with Yandel. You can catch up if you want to, or listen to
For
it.
which Nikki gets a mention on, I might add.
Watch it on YouTube or on LBC catch up. Anyway, but the point is, there was several questions from business owners that were all about funding, because there's still the impression that it's really hard to ever get funding, whereas actually there is, and this is where actually I wanted you to go, because you're more experienced in this side than myself, Nigel. Is if people are thinking, oh no, well I can't sell because people won't get funding, blah blah blah. Well, actually, what is the reality, Nigel, at the moment? You speak to funders all the time. What is the funding situation like out there?
I think for the right businesses, is very strong. Obviously, the interest rates have gone up, but everything has to be factored in, and market conditions change all the time. So you're sort of operating with a different set of rules. But I suppose number one is lenders primarily want to know their money is safe, and so it's up to the seller and the buyer to sort of basically prove how robust the deal is. So it is about being well prepared. It's covering off any sort of perceived weaknesses. It's any lender will take comfort from repeat and reoccurring revenues. I think you sort of have to show the longevity of the customer relationships, and it's a year-on-year continuation of that, and hopefully it's sort of showing a low customer churn, and I think pull into your forecasts and your profiles that the conditions in the market, factor in the inflation, factor in some headroom for the future eventualities that we've all experienced over the last couple of years. But I think if you're well prepared, you put a good report together, and it's a compelling case, and obviously all the the fundamentals of affordability and robustness are there, you'll get funding, and it's out there, and finance houses, they want to lend. So
they don't make money if they don't lend.
Yeah, all of that, and the same actually applies with private equity. So with your broker or your advisor, make sure the plan is well prepared, robust, and includes all those ingredients. And again, that will just help get a deal across the line, because it makes it such a strong case. And if you can, as always, sort of over deliver with it.
Absolutely. So lots of golden nuggets there. If I summarize it, we're expecting really good deal activity in 2023. There's still some really good deals to be made. Make sure that you give yourself enough time to maximize your deal and ensure that your deal gets success. Get advice from your advisors as early as possible, from all elements of it, and prepare as well. It's ridiculous where you see really great deals and they get messed up because people just didn't put the time in to prepare their due diligence, their presentation of their company records, in a good enough state and things. So, preparation, planning, get the advice at the right time, and you'll get a good deal, and it should be a pretty good year. So thank you very much, Nigel.
Pleasure.
Lots of useful stuff, everybody. If you would like to contact myself or Nigel, just do contact us through LinkedIn or contact us via our Succession Planning website. Yeah, great. So we look forward to catching up with you regularly on how the deals are going through the year. We'll let you all know. And hopefully everyone has a great year. Cheerio.
Good luck, everyone. Cheers.